presidential election in the United States will be decided tomorrow on November 5th, and here is how it is going to impact Bitcoin. What's going on, guys? It's CryptoDave here at Top Tier Signals, and as the United States election finally comes to a close, many are wondering who is going to be victorious and what the impact is going to be on Bitcoin, and that is exactly what I would like to discuss in this video. And guys, if you enjoy these deep dives and analyses, you can subscribe to the channel, tick the little bell, you'll get notified every single time that we post. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the discussion. So the first consideration is who is going to be the more crypto-friendly president. Throughout the entire campaign, we've seen a lot come out of the Donald Trump camp that he is very pro-Bitcoin and he wants to make America, quote, the crypto capital of the world.
There's no need to feel down.
We know that he has shown skepticism in the past, but he has self-proclaimed turned his opinion around, and he is at the very least appealing to Bitcoiners across the United States in an effort to get their vote. Now, whether or not this is going to translate into any actual policy decisions or how big of a priority it is for Donald Trump if he were to be president to make America pro-crypto, pro-Bitcoin, wherever that stacks on the list of his priorities, who knows? We never really know how a presidential candidate's words are going to translate if and when they're actually elected. Now, in the Kamala Harris camp, she was rather quiet on the topic of cryptocurrency for quite some time. However, recently she did unveil that as a part of her plan, she is in support of regulation for crypto assets to help protect minority investors. Now, the crypto market has leaned in favor of Donald Trump on the topic of Bitcoin specifically, and if we look at some of the predictive markets such as Polymarket, we can see that Donald Trump is currently projected to win, currently right around that 57% mark, and it is a well-known thesis that the crypto market is in support of a Donald Trump presidency. But regardless of who actually gets in office, we can see if we just take a look back at history that it truthfully doesn't matter whether a Republican wins the ticket, whether a Democrat wins the ticket, and who is actually put into office. As we can see, in 2012, Barack Obama was reelected for his second term, a Democrat. In 2016, Donald Trump was elected, a Republican. And then in 2020, of course, Joe Biden, a Democrat, was elected president. So we have seen a Democrat, a Republican, and another Democrat win the presidency. And every single time, we have still seen a very expansive bull market to follow for Bitcoin. And I think the main reason for this, again, is that traders just want certainty. They want to know what they're working with. And so this time is a little bit different because the topic of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is actually a discussion within the election. But regardless of this, they just want to know, is it in fact going to be Donald Trump, who is apparently very pro-crypto, or is it going to be Kamala Harris, who at the very least supports some sort of regulation? The market just wants to have an answer. And so that's my thesis. I don't think it truly matters too much in terms of who wins the presidential election. I think the market will have a couple of weeks to digest the information, but ultimately they will have the certainty. And cryptocurrency is far more sensitive to global liquidity than one country's individual politics or economy. So if we just take a look at the global liquidity index overlaid with our lifetime Bitcoin chart, we can see that in moments where global liquidity moves back upward, we tend to see some pretty expansive price action for Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptocurrency market. And as we can see, global liquidity for the past 2 years has dwindled down, but we seem to be moving into sort of an upswing. So if we do get a nice move to the upside in terms of global liquidity, I would expect this to translate to higher prices for Bitcoin and other crypto assets, regardless of who wins the presidential election. Something you'll hear a lot of traders say is, show me the chart and I will tell you the news. And that is generally seen as a rebuttal to the idea that a narrative precedes price action. Many hypothesize that the price action can tell you the narrative of the market. And the reason I mention this is that regardless of who wins the election tomorrow, I think there will be a positively spun narrative either way. If Donald Trump wins, he's clearly the more pro-Bitcoin presidential option. So I think the markets will react to this positively and say we finally got somebody in office who is going to make the United States one of the economic superpowers of the world, very much pro-crypto. On the other hand, if Kamala Harris is elected, I think the narrative would be more of a flight to safety. We see the economic weakness, we anticipate more inflation, we anticipate a recession. Whether or not it actually happens, we could see any sort of narrative being spun regardless of who wins the presidential election. So again, guys, just based on history, based on the general parameters of what drives Bitcoin's value, I do not think it's going to matter in the long term who wins the presidential election tomorrow. Now, I do think there might be a short-term trade to play when it comes to the United States election. Obviously, the current expectation is that Donald Trump will win the presidency. Of course, it's going to be a tight race, so nobody actually knows, but that is where generally predictive markets lean. They lean in favor of Donald Trump, and so we're sitting at a nice discount. We've come back into this 21 and 50 EMA cloud that we covered on the channel, and we are sitting right at a level that we might anticipate would act as support. So if we do in fact get a Donald Trump victory, we might get some support here for Bitcoin a little bit sooner rather than later, and we might have a better chance of breaking to new all-time highs sooner as opposed to closer to year end. end. Now, if Kamala Harris were to win, and currently the expectation is that she won't, I think that surprise to markets might cause a little bit more choppiness or potentially a little bit more downside for Bitcoin before we move back to all-time highs, likely towards the end of the year. But again, guys, it does not matter who wins the election in the long term. It's more of a short-term trading decision. So that's going to do it for today's video. Let me know what you guys think of the presidential election. Who do you think is going to win, and what do you think the impact on Bitcoin is going to be? And until the next video, guys, I'll catch you all in the Discord. Peace.